Thank you, Mary Jo, and I'm looking forward to sharing the Roy Rogers brand story with all your listeners today. I'd love to share with you about our great brand that's been around since 1968, and we're very excited about the opportunities that continue to be available to franchise prospects today and in the years ahead. I want to start a little bit by talking about what Roy Rogers is as a brand and who is Roy Rogers, and really the sum and substance of our brand is that it's real, it's approachable, and it's welcoming. We talk about it having a simple and unpretentious feel, characterized by some informality and affability. But we really also talk about the cowboy code when you talk about Roy Rogers. Many may remember Roy Rogers as being the great icon, the great movie icon from the 40s and 50s. And Roy represented a hardworking, genuine, and hospitable cowboy. And he operated under the cowboy code. And now today, we call that the Code of Roy. And that's really where we like to represent ourselves as being, as we mentioned, genuine and authentic. Let's talk a little bit more about the history of Roy Rogers. Many people don't know our history and know of our brand, but don't really know the various iterations. It was started back in 1968 by the Marriott Corporation, and you can see from this slide the old iconic pylon sign that existed back in the late 1960s. In the 70s and 80s, the brand expanded under the Marriott regime. Pappy Parker's famous fried chicken was added to the menu. Roast beef was added to the menu over the early 1970s and 1980s. And I'll stop here for a second, because what's interesting about our brand was that my father, Pete Plamondon Sr., worked at Marriott beginning in 1965, actually, before the Roy Rogers brand was launched. And he ran the Roy Rogers division right up until 1979. And then he left to become a Roy Rogers franchisee in 1980. The brand continued to expand in the 1980s and through the 1990s, when some may remember Hardee's restaurants acquiring the brand. Now, Hardee's didn't really want the Roy Rogers brand at the time. They were buying the chain for the real estate. And so when they attempted to convert Roy's over the years, they ended up not succeeding in that effort and selling off many of the Roy Rogers. So while the brand at one time back in the 70s and 80s got up to be 648 restaurants strong, Hardee's eventually sold off a number of those restaurants for the real estate, and it became a much smaller brand. However, that became an opportunity for our business to acquire the Roy Rogers brand, and we did just that. In 2002, we bought the much smaller Roy Rogers brand from Hardee's restaurants and gained control of it and became a franchisor at that time. Up until this point, under our father's guidance, we were a franchisee, but when my brother and I bought the business from him and then bought the brand in 2002, we became the franchisor company. We rebooted and expanded the brand, and today we are in 6 states. We've got 43 restaurants and continuing to grow. I'll move to the next slide and just talk a little bit about our philosophy as a brand. Well, what are we all about? Well, we're a values-driven organization that's maniacally focused on quality, and really that's what sets us apart. There are a lot of quick service restaurants out there. There are a lot of fast food restaurants out there. What we've done is we've tried to separate ourselves from the QSRs by focusing on these 4 pillars, if you will: the quality products, quality people, quality experiences, and quality business. And I'll talk about each one of these in relation to the Roy Rogers brand. Let's start with the quality products. Look, nobody has better food than Roy Rogers, and we've got the classic menu favorites of roast beef, fried chicken, and burgers. We have a series of LTOs that we offer each and every year in signature products, and certainly co-brand with our various vendors. But it's all about the food for Roy Rogers, and we like to consider ourselves a cut above the other fast food restaurants. We'll talk a little bit about roast beef because that really is our signature item. That's USDA choice roast beef. It's the top inside round. It's fresh beef. It's not a processed product like some of our competitors might sell. It's sliced to order. It's slow roasted in our ovens. It's sliced to order and then topped with au jus. So that's really a quality premium product that nobody else is offering. The next element, and we'll talk a little bit more about the rest of our menu later with our products. The next element really is about our quality people. Not only staffing our restaurants with high quality associates and managers, but also when we're looking for franchise partners, making sure that they're quality people, that they meet our standards and truly share our values. So that people component is really important. At the end of the day, we're providing hospitality, and we want to make sure that the associates that we hire, the franchisees, and the prospects that we're interacting with all embrace those values of providing exceptional hospitality to our guests. We've got a lot of things in place, a lot of systems in place that are important to help with our quality people strategy. The foundational learning systems are critical, not only for the hourly associates, but also for our managers and our franchisees. And we also embrace this family-oriented culture of caring about our people. It is a family business after all. This is not owned by a big corporation. We're not owned by a private equity firm. This is a family-owned and operated business, and we have this culture of caring about our people, about our franchise partners and our guests, and certainly recognizing brand advocates throughout our system is a really important part of our philosophy. The third pillar of our philosophy is about quality experiences. Okay, and what does that mean? We have to have outstanding operations with disciplined execution that's focused on these key elements, but certainly quality, speed of service, and hospitality is the key differentiators for the Roy Rogers brand. We've enhanced our customer technology systems over the years, and in particular, over the last 18 to 24 months, we've made a conscious decision and conscious investment in our brand to improve our technology. What are some of the things that we've done to do that? Well, we've invested in a drive-through timer system. And wasn't our timing perfect, particularly with the pandemic that none of us knew was going to happen? But how important was drive-through to our success and the success of any quick serve restaurant? So we have a real effort to manage and monitor our drive-through times and make sure that we're providing the speediest of service, still with that hospitality that I spoke of. We've invested in our digital menu boards and rolled out a whole interior digital menu board system to bring, again, that technology to the inside of our restaurants. We even started investing in drive-through digital menu boards as well. And so that has been a key component to help with that drive-through experience that has become so important now. It always was important, but it's ever more important today as we come out of the COVID and the pandemic that we've experienced. We've invested resources in a video loss prevention system and camera systems throughout our restaurants. And then finally, we've relaunched the Roy Rogers app. That's probably one of the biggest investments and biggest technology upgrades that we've made to allow for not only a better way to reach our many loyal guests, but also a frictionless method to order online and to really drive sales and to drive that top line. The last piece that I'll talk about with our quality pillars is our quality business. You know, each of our restaurants, they have to make money at the unit level, and that's a really critical component for our system and for our franchise partners. And so we've developed systems that will help drive that top line sales growth and also manage our bottom line with a laser focus on food costs and wage costs and other controllables to be able to, again, drive that profitability. Each of our franchisees has to have that exceptional return on investment. And so we are laser focused on developing programs and initiatives to improve their bottom lines. What does that mean? Well, that means updating our store design with new and more efficient layouts, smaller prototypes to reduce overall investment costs, and then certainly optimizing our layouts in the drive-through area that we talked about, because that has become so important. The drive-through, we've done a complete redesign to allow for better speed of service and better hospitality to be able to share that with our guests that are going through the drive-through at percentages that far exceeded what we were doing pre-pandemic days. And then, as mentioned earlier, we've enhanced our business technology systems to improve some data-driven decision-making, looking at sites when we do make real estate decisions and looking at them based on data and using software and other tools to make informed decisions. We'll talk a little bit now about the Roy Rogers difference. And as I mentioned earlier, such a big difference is that we are uniquely positioned in our category of being able to be a cut above a typical fast food restaurant. In fact, we might say that we're somewhere between a typical fast food restaurant and a fast casual restaurant. Maybe you could argue that we were fast casual before there ever was fast casual, because we're providing that quality experience, that quality menu that you can see here, and average unit volumes that are very strong. Our top 25%, as you can see here, are exceeding $2.6 million in revenue. Our average unit volume overall is stronger than many of the other chains that we compete with. And you think of the other big chains of the Burger Kings and the Wendy's and others with marketing budgets that are certainly significantly larger than ours, and yet our average unit volumes compete with or even exceed some of those brands in our markets. So we're very excited about that and what we're able to deliver, not only for our corporate restaurants, but also our franchise partners. You can see here up on the screen our new prototype. This is the look and feel of the West, right? Because after all, Roy Rogers is the king of the cowboys, and we want to continue to have that Western feel. We want it to be authentic. We want it to be Western. We don't want it to be hokey, but rather cool cowboy, contemporary cowboy. And I think we've achieved this with a new look. We have continued to reinvest in our own corporate restaurants as well as our franchise restaurants in terms of bringing them up to speed with remodels and remodel requirements. We've gone so far in certain markets to knock down buildings, and you can see an example here on your left of a restaurant that was built in the early 1970s that we knocked down about a year and a half ago and rebuilt this one with this cool contemporary Roy Rogers look, added a drive-through where there was not one here, and in this case a smaller prototype that we developed. As we all know, as costs are rising, we need to be mindful of developing systems and prototypes in this case that are less costly, that can fit on smaller pieces of land, and this one does just that. So this is got a somewhat smaller dining room, about 50 seats, where our typical might be more like 70 seats, and certainly a real focus on the drive-through in this case. We've taken other restaurants. One of the ways that we've been able to keep investment costs down is going into existing older concepts, other restaurants, and converted them to Roy Rogers. We've taken restaurants, we've looked at banks, and how can we take their buildings and convert them. And this is an old Wendy's, as it turns out, that you're seeing pictured here, that we opened last year during the pandemic, and really given it a whole new look and feel. Of course, we're saving on investment costs, probably 30% lower costs with this particular building, because we were able to use, to some extent, the existing site work in the existing building. And we've gone into different types of markets. So you can see here, you've got your traditional restaurant. Most of our traditional restaurants have drive-throughs to them, of course, and that's what's allowed us to succeed before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and certainly as we're coming out of the pandemic. You're seeing here a nice look of one of our dining rooms inside in this case, but then also some non-traditional units. We've got operations in travel plazas up and down the 95 corridor and Pennsylvania Turnpike. We look at airports, and this year we opened up at the University of Maryland. You know, Roy Rogers was in the University of Maryland years ago. Things had changed over time, brands had changed over time, and Maryland, the college reached out to us and said, hey, we want to bring you back to our campus because we've got some folks that are really asking about your brand and want to see your brand in our environment. So we opened up last year on the University of Maryland, and looking forward to a long and successful relationship with that university. Let's talk a little bit more about our menu and what kind of distinguishes Roy Rogers from the other brands. And we like to say that we're focused on quality, variety, and choice. And so when we talk about quality, the first thing that comes to mind is what we talked about a little bit earlier, which is our roast beef. And we've got the roast beef that is the best in the market, best in the business. Certainly that fresh, real roast beef that we slow roast in the oven is a far better product than some of our competitors. We've got fresh fried chicken, fresh, never frozen. Not only our bone-in fried chicken, but our chicken tenders, using that same breading that we developed years ago with the Pappy Parker recipe that some people of a certain age may remember, and it's still very wildly popular for us. And then the line of burgers, which we'll talk about a little bit further now, mostly cooked to order, if you will. So we really time it so we're serving a fresh, hot burger, and they're not sitting around under a heat lamp waiting to be sold. So it's really, really important that we have that quality perspective. So quality, variety is the next key to talk about. Of course, the three proteins, the beef, burgers, and chicken, are a variety in and of themselves. And then choice. At Roy Rogers, it's not just burger, fries, and a drink like you might find at so many quick serve restaurants today. It's burger and then a choice, or roast beef or chicken, and then a choice of side items. And we have a choice of 7 side items, not just French fries. French fries, certainly we sell a lot of those, and they're a very popular menu item. But in addition to that, we've got coleslaw, mashed potatoes, baked beans, macaroni and cheese. And then on the healthier side, we've got a side salad and a fruit cup. So when the guest comes into Roy Rogers, they've got their choice of these items, which really makes our restaurant stand out. With our guests, we hear a lot of the guests say, we don't typically eat at fast food, but we love to eat at Roy Rogers. And that's how we've developed this very loyal following of guests and customers along the way. Let's talk a little bit about our menu mix. One of the key elements to our brand is that we serve a very robust breakfast. This isn't something that we've just gotten into in certain environments. We've been serving breakfast for many, many years, and it comprises about 20% of our sales. We'll talk a little bit more later about the menu within that. Dinner with our wonderful bone-in chicken and chicken tenders and some other items constitutes nearly 30% of our sales. And then certainly lunch is the lion's share at a little over 50% of our sales. So that has been a very key driver of our revenue and a key driver to our high average unit volumes that I spoke of earlier. What are the different channels? Well, we certainly have talked a lot about drive-through, and during the pandemic, that has increased. We were in the low 50 percentile for drive-through before the pandemic, and now this slide indicates 62, maybe even a little higher year to date in 2022. So that certainly has increased over time. Our to-go orders and our inside orders, you can see there, and then the delivery channels. So we partnered up with DoorDash and Uber Eats. That number ranges, and we've got some restaurants that are as high as 15% delivery. So that's been a huge component of our growth and our success during the last 18 months for sure. A couple of the top selling menu items, and I'm going to show pictures of these a little bit later in the presentation, but we've got the Gold Rush chicken sandwich. That is a wonderful item, one of the top sellers for our brand. That's the chicken patty with Monterey Jack cheese, some slices of bacon, and a sweet barbecue sauce. And certainly something that when guests talk about Roy Rogers, they talk about the Gold Rush. Our burgers are always big sellers, and the roast beef sandwich is certainly also a big seller. I'll also just do a special shout out to the Double R Bar burger. That's our signature burger, and that's one of our top sellers, as you can see here. That's why it made this list. And that consists of a cheeseburger with ham on it. and it's Smithfield is our vendor, our partner in the ham and bacon and sausage business, and we top this double R with the ham. And some might ask, where do you come up with the name Double R Bar? Well, Roy Rogers, the cowboy, the movie star, had his ranch out in California, and the name of his ranch was the Double R Bar Ranch. And so we've named this the Double R Bar Burger. And on the burger side, that's really our signature item, the Double R Bar Burger. We sell a lot of them. Let's talk a little bit about more the inside of our restaurants. And when we talk about a signature item on the entree side, we can talk about roast beef or the Double R Bar. But really what Roy's is known for is our famous Fixin's Bar. And you can see this pictured here. And when we've done focus groups with our guests or asked them through our loyalty program, what do they love most about Roy Rogers? 10 out of 10 of them say the Roy's Fixin's Bar. Well, what is that? Well, that's our way of allowing the guests to customize and to build their own sandwich. So we have fresh lettuce, we have freshly sliced tomatoes, we have pickles and freshly sliced onions, we have a pico de gallo and banana peppers and salsa and some other items, in addition to the condiments like our barbecue sauce, our famous roast beef sauce. We've got obviously ketchup, mustard, and the like. And some hot sauce, a boom boom sauce that we have on our bar. But this truly sets us apart from the competition. Nobody else does this. When you go to some of the other fast food competitors, you get that sandwich the way they build it and not the way you want it. Well, this is the way you want it. So our guests that come inside of our restaurant buy our burgers or buy even our chicken sandwiches, and then they dress it up. They put as much lettuce, tomato, or pickles on as they want, and it's true value for the customer, and they love it. Through the drive-through, you might be asking, how do we handle that? Because we don't have the Fixin's Bar through the drive-through. Well, we give a Fixin's cup, and the customer gets a cup that has lettuce, tomatoes, pickles, and onions in it already, and they can put that on, and they can ask for 1 or 2 Fixin's cups along with these other sauces that are packaged up. So that's how we address that through the drive-through. And it makes for a great experience, a customizable experience, and certainly sets us apart from the competition. We'll look a little bit more in depth at our menu. I won't spend a lot of time on these slides, but you can see the line of burgers here. People often ask the question, well, what do you sell more of, burgers, beef, or chicken? And the answer is all three. It's almost identical, the amount of burgers, beef, and chicken as a percent of our sales that we sell. So here's our lineup of burgers and roast beef. And there's the famous Double R Bar Burger you can see pictured with a ham on it. The roast beef sandwich comes in a regular size and a large, and then we have roast beef sliders as well. So very popular. And then the sliders are certainly popular as a snackable item or late night item. People like to get that. This next slide just shows our chicken and the chicken tenders that we talked about, the fried chicken, the bone-in chicken, the family meals that we like to cater to the larger family. And that truly is what drives up our dinner business for our brand. There's a nice shot of our Gold Rush chicken that we talked about. And then down below is our Texas Pete spicy chicken. We started that spicy chicken sandwich as an LTO about 1.5 years or 2 years ago, and it was so popular with our guests that we kept it on as a permanent menu item. Of course, chicken is wildly popular today with all customers, and we've got a great lineup of chicken that addresses those customer wants and needs. Breakfast, we talked about, a big part of our menu mix. We serve a wide variety of breakfast, and as you can see here, you can get your ham, egg, and cheese, or your sausage, egg, and cheese, or bacon, egg, and cheese on a biscuit. You can get it on a crescent, and you can get it on sourdough. They're all popular. Probably the most popular is the crescent sandwich, but they really all sell quite well. And recently we introduced the honey maple chicken biscuit, again intended to be an LTO, but with the popularity that it experienced with our customers and our guests, we kept it on as a permanent menu item. So very excited about that. Chicken continues to be popular with our guests. Another thing that sets us apart here at Roy Rogers is our platter. You really don't see this at the other QSRs, and that's why guests do like to dine in with us quite a bit. Come in for our biscuits and gravy, our cream chip beef and biscuit, and then our pancake platters, and then the famous Western platter, which has not only our scrambled eggs and our potato fries, but also the cream chip beef over a half biscuit. Very popular with our guests, certainly a nice addition to our check average as a brand. And we have a pretty high check average, I should note, within for our guests. A little higher than you might find at the other fast food restaurants. Our guests are willing to pay for it because of the quality. And that really does, we do set ourselves apart from the other QSRs by virtue of the quality, and we're allowed to charge a little bit of a premium for that quality experience. Talk a little bit more about off-premises, what has become so big in the last 18 to 24 months. We were fortunate that we already had relationships in place with DoorDash and Uber Eats and online ordering. So this was not something that we had to invent during the pandemic, but rather we had in place. And as I mentioned earlier, the numbers are increasing every day when it comes to third-party delivery. Our app, which I'll talk about in a little bit here, is going to have an online ordering feature when we do our hard launch of our app, and we're very excited about that when that happens. This is the strategy, the overview. As we said earlier, it's focused on premium products. We're going to be different from the competition. Nobody else has all three proteins, beef, burgers, and chicken under one roof. Sure, some brands sell hamburgers, some brands sell roast beef, and some brands sell chicken. But nobody can name a brand other than Roy Rogers that sells beef, burgers, and chicken all for one. And really, it makes it, as we point out here, worth driving to get it. We are more of a destination location than a typical fast food restaurant. People drive out of their way to go to Roy's. And we also, by having this broad menu, by having this great variety, eliminate the veto vote. So if somebody doesn't want a burger today, but somebody else in that party or that family wants to get a roast beef sandwich or fried chicken, we're there for them. And that certainly is appealing not only to the larger groups that come in to dine with us at lunch or dinner, but also in these non-traditional settings of travel plazas or college campuses where you can come to the Roy Rogers and get any one of a number of different menu items. We do certainly make sure that any of our brands or any of our menu items, I should say, including the LTOs, have a high contribution margin. That is one of the key attributes of our LTO strategy and really of our brand in general. We're not a coupon-oriented business. We're not a promotion-oriented business. We feel very strongly that because we have a quality product, that we should be able to charge for it, and we can and do charge a premium for it. So, I think as a franchise prospect, you can be comforted in knowing that the corporate strategy is not to be discounting and to be eating into your margins, that we're going to make sure that any products have a nice contribution margin. Remember that in our brand, it's about half and half corporate and franchise. So we know how important unit level economics are to our own corporate stores as well as the franchise stores. So we make sure that we're pricing items accordingly and we're promoting things accordingly. So turning to promoting, one of the ways and a key way that we promote our own brand is through digital. And of course, lots of brands are doing this now. We are certainly laser focused on enhanced digital marketing and social strategy. We have a robust program on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, as you can see. We certainly have messaging that we're running banner ads on a lot of different websites. We're certainly using Waze advertising to make sure people know when they're pulling up Waze on their automobile or their phone on their automobile that they see the Roy Rogers icons and how to get there. We make sure that we're not doing too many pushes a week, not overloading, but just the right amount. And I think through lots of experience with our experienced marketing team, we know what the right amount is. And then a big part of our strategy is through our app. And we've relaunched our app to make it bigger, better, and more robust. Lots of different features. We did a soft launch in the fall. We're going to really do a much harder, more robust launch here in the next probably 2 to 3 months that will allow for mobile payment and digital ordering in a way that we've not been able to do before. And we're very excited about it and are confident that the users will be driven to our app more and more and be able to do this online ordering and either delivery or pickup in a easier, more seamless manner. You know, talking about this app, I think we have some incredibly loyal customers. We almost have a cult-like following with Roy Rogers, and if you talk to folks in our markets and you talk about Roy Rogers, they have this this look in their eye and the smile that comes to their face about how much they love Roy's. And as I think I mentioned earlier, they'll say, you know, I don't eat fast food, but I love Roy Rogers. I love to eat at Roy Rogers. That's because of that premium product. And that makes for a very loyal customer, which really also makes for a very significant following with our Roy Rogers app, the Roy's Rewards app. We have a lot of thousands and thousands of users on that, a lot of frequent users. Of course, with the use of the app, you have higher check average because they're getting more and more of our food during the ordering process. Another key component, and we talked about the code of Roy and what's important about it being a values-driven organization, is having corporate social responsibility. A big part of our marketing has been at the unit level, have been at the local marketing level to partner up with schools, with communities, with churches, with other school groups or the Boy Scouts or what have you, baseball and soccer and other sporting teams. Really been an important part of our strategy to engage with those groups, develop relationships with those groups by providing fundraisers. And of course, we do the 25% to that group comes in for a certain period of time, and we donate that right back to the community. Not only does that make good business sense because we're developing a relationship with these groups, but it's also the right thing to do. And community involvement is just an important part of our brand, part of our mission as an organization. Let's talk a little bit about franchising, because that's certainly the purpose of this discussion today. We've got great support. We've got a team of people that have great longevity within our organization. Some of our average tenure of our franchise consultants and district managers and director of operations is over 20 years. In fact, our director of operations has had over 30 years with our organization. So nobody knows operations better than our team here. And certainly that's a key component to how we can help make franchisees be successful when they choose Roy Rogers as a brand. We've got obviously support in certain areas, site selection, and we've got a team devoted to helping work through the site selection process from a real estate perspective, using technology and data-driven analytics to help select that very best site. The training program is essential to a new franchisee and even to the existing franchisees. We have a team of folks that not only provide the training in advance of opening a restaurant with the management team and the ownership group, but also will be on site during the store openings to help train that team. There are franchise agreements, and we all have them. They're in black and white, and they tell you how many days that the franchisor will support the franchisee in training. Well, I can assure you that we exceed those days that we would write about in our franchise agreement. We're going to be there for our franchisees through the openings. And let me tell you, when we've opened franchise restaurants recently, the lines are out the door when we go public and open to the public. People are lined up out the door because they missed Roy Rogers. They remember the days when Roy Rogers was in their markets, and they get the word. We get the word out through social media that we're coming, and oh boy, do they line up to get their fill of Roy Rogers again. We do that through great marketing programs, and we'll provide the franchisees with a very detailed and robust marketing support, not only for their grand opening, but on an ongoing basis. We talked earlier about technology and innovation. Certainly that's a key component of the franchise support. We work with NCR as our POS system, and we have a relationship that allows them to roll those systems out and make sure that they are operating properly and efficiently. And then certainly the operation support that comes from a long list of people within our organization that have had a long history with our brand and know exactly how to help our operators along. Certainly we're looking for folks as franchise prospects that have some operations experience, but it might not be with our Roy Rogers brand. We've got a lot to teach them. It's certainly a brand that they can get their hands around, I think, easily with a proper level of training and support from our operations team. So what's the process? How do you connect with Roy Rogers restaurants to sell franchises? Because that's what we're in business to do. Well, roysfranchising.com is pretty easy. Go on that website and you'll see the process. There will be an application, a mini application initially, and then ultimately a longer application that we'll learn a little bit about you and your interest in our brand. We'll certainly provide you with the requisite FDDs and have you come to headquarters here for a discovery day, show you around our restaurants, various restaurants. We'll get you we'll get a franchise agreement in front of you. We'll talk a little bit about our franchise terms. So they are very competitive, if not better than some of the other brands. We have a $30,000 franchise fee. Our royalties are very fair and reasonable, arguably lower than many of our competitors at 5%. And then we have a marketing fee of 1 to 3% of our top line sales. So very reasonable franchise and marketing fees, and I think very competitive. In the case where there may be a development agreement opportunity where a franchisee wants to develop 3 or more restaurants in a territory and lock down that territory, we've got different terms available for them based on the number of units and based on the territory. But certainly they'd be more competitive and robust terms that would be very attractive to a franchisee. Certainly we'd love to see, while we're willing and able to develop and sell franchises to people that want one restaurant at a time, our sweet spot is, of course, multi-unit operators. And we're always looking for that person that wants to take a given market and really develop that market. We'll help them with the site selection and build out, and then voila, the grand opening. And as I mentioned, as we've opened these restaurants, we will assure you that the lines will be out the door as folks are happy to see Roy Rogers coming back into their particular market. Here's a couple of grand openings. We opened at the University of Maryland, as I mentioned, last year at their Stamp Student Union building. We're excited to be affiliated with the Terps. And then on the right-hand side here, we just signed a development agreement in the fall to bring Roy Rogers back to the greater Cincinnati and northern Kentucky area. Roy's was big in that market back in its heyday under the Marriott days and hasn't been present for a number of years. And this gentleman here, Gary Holland, is in the center, and his team, front and center, are bringing Roy's back to Cincinnati. He's a multi-unit operator of several different brands. We're excited to be partnering with him and excited to be bringing Roy's back to Cincy. And why is Cincinnati notable? Well, Roy Rogers, the cowboy, for some that may not know, was born in Cincinnati. He was born with the name Leonard Sly, and he lived there through high school and then dropped out of high school at a young age, and he and his family moved to California. And when he got to California, he dropped the name Leonard Sly and became Roy Rogers, and the rest is history. Roy was an incredibly famous cowboy and movie star, starred in over 100 TV shows and movie pictures, and he's a real icon. But he was born right there in Cincinnati, so it makes all the sense in the world for us to be bringing Roy Rogers back to the Roy Rogers restaurants, back to the birthplace of Roy Rogers. What are other locations available? We talked about Cincinnati, Ohio, and Northern Kentucky. We're in 6 states currently, in Virginia, Maryland, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey. But really, the whole kind of East Coast is open and ready for development. And the brand, which again was very strong back in its heyday, had a presence in these markets. So we know as we open up in these markets, there's still that brand equity and brand loyalty that exists. So it makes all the sense in the world for us to develop in these markets. It also allows us to provide the right support. You're not going to be left alone when you open your Roy Rogers restaurant. We want these, as we develop our territories, we want to be able to support you frequently and in the right amounts to help you succeed. So these are the areas of interest for us, and we've garnered a lot of interest in recent months from these territories. So we're excited to continue to build them out. So that's all I've got to share with you, the Roy Rogers story. We're just thrilled. We're very passionate about our brand, as I hope you can tell. It's been a wildly successful brand that's existed for well over 50 years now. That doesn't happen by accident. And we're excited about now really focusing on franchising going forward in an effort to expand our brand. So without further ado, I'll pass it back on to you, Mary Jo.